Well, welcome to our podcast brought to you by Bass Pro and Cabela's. And today I'm sitting here with Sloane Brown, who is the hunting marketing manager, YETI. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This place is awesome.
Oh, you know what? We've been trying to get you out here for a few years, and I'm super excited you made it. It was a little crazy, though. You rolled in and
Yeah, you were burning the flame at both ends.
yeah.
I was like, hey, Fred. And you're like, I got to run. I got to go skin a pig and butcher a pig and kill a pig. And just got done branding. I was like, whoa, hey.
Yeah, I think you guys even went to the pen before the guys were done. So, like you said, you and Joe rolled up, and it was one of those crazy days. We, that was a day Jeb had picked a brand. So I was like, no problem. We'll knock that out. And, nothing. I don't know how many brandings you've been a part of, but I've never been to one.
That's zero.
Oh, really? So
I've seen them and stuff, but never really worked cows.
Oh, it's fun, but because they're animals, I've never, whether it's mine or one of the other places I've been to help other people out, I've never been to a branding where everything just went absolutely smooth. It seems like something's gonna go crazy every time, and we were relatively smooth. I mean, except for a couple kicks and a finger bent out of joint, and my horse. Oh yeah, it's doing way better now.
Oh, is it?
But having my horse was great. One of the first calves I roped in the morning, awesome, backed up, and then we had a cow go nuts and a bull calf jumped through the reins and drug my horse around, and then it was freaked out a little bit. So, but it was a relatively smooth. We cranked through about 45 calves, and then we ran over, I think, 50 cows through to get them backboard and shots. So it was a busy day, and then you guys pulled in, and I'm like, hey, now I got to race over to the other ranch because the butcher wanted our pig. So me and Tim raced over with the kids. We shot Trent's pig, skinned it, threw it again, and the YETI, the 250, I keep in the back of the truck, raced it over to the butcher, and he's like, okay, what do you want? And I'm like, Michelle usually tells him the cuts. So he's like, baby back ribs. We'll get short ribs. We'll get pork chops. We'll get sausage patties. So that was fun too.
That sounds awesome. I would love to raise a pig. Pork is one of my favorite meats. I don't know why I love pork. I really do.
Bacon. I mean, right? Who doesn't love bacon? That's one of my favorites as well.
So we went out and scouted, and I was so excited we came back, and you were here at the lodge, and I walked by your truck, and there's just blood smeared all over the top of the 250, top of the 250 in the back. I'm like, I love that. I took a picture of it on my phone.
Did you?
I love it. Yeah.
I see, and I was embarrassed because I was like, I
product.
probably need to clean that.
No, man. I like that stuff. It's cool. It's real. That's what we try to do.
Well, I think a lot of people cut. Like I'm constantly caping on top of it. That's my table.
Yeah, and your toolbox. And, yeah.
And a lot of guys use it that way. That's what kind of makes it fun. But before we get into your history, the culture over at YETI, because I learned a lot while you were out here, let's talk about your turkey hunt, because one of the main reasons you guys came was to play.
Yeah.
And that's what I love is both you and Joe, who came with you. You guys are avid hunters, fishermen, outdoorsmen in general, and we went out on a turkey hunt, and we had glassed some birds. Then I sent both Seth, our middle son, and his buddy Vance out to scout, and they came back and they were like, yeah, the birds are still where you and Tim saw them, and let's go set up. And I think we flipped a coin, we drew names.
Drew names out of the hat.
That's right. We drew names out of the hat to see whether you guys would be going with me or with Seth, and you got the short straw.
I don't know about that.
You drew my name, so we went out and run through that hunt a little bit, just from your perspective, because I think a lot of times all hunts are awesome.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, break down the hunt for somebody that's listening or watching.
So we were up at the West Ranch, which is, Fred later told me, 7,500, 8,000 feet, which I've hunted Merriam's before on public land in Colorado, but not really much, so it's almost an entirely different bird than a Rio, what I'm used to hunting. So I don't know what kind of trees they're roosting in or how they're pitching down or anything like that. So you were like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And I always like to know the entire game plan, because I'm a hunter myself. I'm not always guided. I do go on a lot of guided hunts because of my job, but so I like to know what's going on in the strategy, and I try to learn as much as I can. So we snuck in we woke up at 3:30.
Yeah.
Had to start driving at 4. Drove way up to the West Ranch, and when we get there, 4:45, the moon was huge.
Beautiful full moon.
Got set up on the edge of a field, found some hiding spots. Watched the moon set over the horizon, over the mountains, which was really, really cool. and then the birds started hammering.
Yep.
And it sounded like there was maybe 3 different toms.
That's
up
what
there,
I thought too. Yep. Hammering.
Which ended up being true.
Yep.
And they were kind of bouncing calls off each other, and then I think we kind of heard them pitch. I think they hammered a couple times from the ground when they hit the ground, and then they went silent. So we never had eyeballs on them, which trees they were in, but clearly they pitched the other way because we couldn't see them.
And you spotted the first 2 birds off to the right.
Well, and you told me before the hunt you were going to call very lightly because we were close to state land. You're afraid they were pressured, so that was cool. You were lightly calling, and I was wondering, I was like, I don't even know if they can hear you calling. It was that light.
It's amazing.
And me, I'm like probably a little more aggressive. I'm like, oh, come on, Fred, hit that thing, you know. But yeah, and then 20 minutes after they shut up, after the last gobble, I saw 2 jakes up on the road, probably 600 yards, or no, sorry, two hens, 600 yards away on the road, and you guys couldn't see them. And they came down the road a little bit after they heard Fred call. And then they just sat and froze. And I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah, they're boogered.
Yeah, they know something's not right. And they sat there for, it felt like 10 minutes probably. Yeah. Didn't move at all.
They sat there a long time.
And then I think during that time you guys had seen a tom pop in and out of the woods.
I kept seeing him come out of the woods and go back. Come out of the woods and go back. And I'm like, man, and I set up that strutter.
Yeah.
I set up that Montana decoy strutter.
Yeah.
And then I had an actual stuffed hen,
yeah,
which is cool. We use sometimes a stuffed hen, and this was a mounted taxidermy mount, and he just throws it together for me. It's not like showroom quality, but
it looks good though.
But it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I saw kind of above on the road above those 2 hens that were hung up. I saw a Jake come across, and then another one, and then a tom, and then another. Like it was a huge group of birds, and they were kind of skirting the tree line opposite side of the field from us. And then they got to where they could see the strutter.
Oh, yeah. And I called a little bit. It was so funny watching them.
Their heads go white, and they just on a rope, like from 500 yards, just dead line into it. And the whole time, when you watch an animal come in from that far away and you can read their body language and you can tell there's not much hesitation, the adrenaline just goes.
I'm glad it was you too, because I know Tim was over there breathing heavy because I could hear him. I was losing my mind. My heart's just, I'm like,
same.
Oh, they are duped.
Too. I think you can see it in the GoPro that was above my head as my barrel's like kind of shaking a little bit.
Oh, that was such a cool angle.
It was cool.
I'd set that up, but I did not know. We'd set up a GoPro in the morning, and a lot of people don't realize when you're trying to video too, because I just wanted to catch your hunt. I'm like, this would be neat to put on an episode of Everything Eichler and YouTube. So I set up a GoPro at back of us, and I think you got to see a little bit of how much work goes into the setup, because it's not like you're just trying to shoot a turkey. No. We've got 3 people to hide. We've got a camera. We're trying to think of our angles. You got to figure out which way the birds are going to come in. So, Tim's, we set up once, and then we kind of like went, Tim didn't like it. I didn't like it. I was like, man, let's switch it up. So then we move it around so where we have, me just a little bit to your right. You're right there. We have a GoPro looking down on you. We've got Tim kind of behind me and the decoys up front. But like you said, when they came running in, I think all of us were just like, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And we were at 19 birds at that point. We had taken 19 for 19. We'd had a great year and busted our butt. Some of them were like the last minute of the last day. Some of them were early and had worked hard. And I was like, man, these birds are, it's later in the season. It's getting a little tougher. And like you said, when they broke, it was awesome.
It was awesome. I think the first thing we both said to each other was, you love it when a plan comes together like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. I would say 5% of the time it goes down just the way you envision it. But, man, it was awesome. Those 3 toms came right in. And they kind of got close, and I could read their body language. Yeah. They didn't really like something. They weren't like hammering on the decoy or anything. And so I think they stopped, and they were all pretty close together, so I couldn't shoot.
I called.
You called.
We called to try and get them to stop. They hammered back. Yeah.
And then 2 kind of turned and went the other way, and the one, which ended up being, I think, the biggest.
Yeah, the one we wanted
stayed there, and I shot him at probably 27 yards.
Yeah, and you smoked him. Great shot. Bird just the head, I think, hit first. I mean, it was just like.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, it was a good clean shot, and he dropped, and of course celebration ensues.
Oh yeah,
you can't not celebrate when you're with Fred Eichler, the king of celebration, the king of end zone dances, we should call him.
I get a little excited. It was just like you said. How often does a plan come together, textbook, like you think it's going to go?
Yeah.
And and in I guess in a fair comparison, like those guys were on birds they thought they were going to hammer too. So Seth and Vance, one of the other guides, and Joe, your buddy that works at YETI as well, they were set up and they were hoping to do the same textbook thing, and the birds just didn't cooperate. So when it does go down like you want it to, like you said, it is just best feeling in the world.
It's just pure sweetness.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then what was fun is, I liked and respected the fact that I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
No.
I was like, hey man, I'm going to take care of your bird. And you were ready to fight me. You were like, no, you're not. And I was like, well, no, I'm a guide. This is what I do. I take care. And you're like, nope, I'm taking care of my bird. So
yeah, I just can't.
No, I get it. And I respected it. But every single client that's taken a bird, I've done them all. So
really?
You're the only person so far, which is great. And that's my job. I enjoy doing it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Sure.
But you were like, nope.
I think that's part of the experience, part of you getting to enjoy taking that animal. There's a little bit of work that goes into it. And I think that's your responsibility as a hunter. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
I think that's my responsibility as a hunter. To take care of the animal. So
well, I thought it was pretty cool. So Sloane decides I'm doing my own bird, and then to make it even tougher, you're like, I'm gonna pluck it. I'm like, oh man, I love a plucked turkey. I love eating a whole turkey, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You were out there covered in feathers. What do they call it? That tarred and feathered.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that was punishment. If somebody did something, they'd stick the hot tar, they'd cover you with feathers, I think, or something.
Yeah, but then you came out, and I was really glad you did because you showed me two things that I think I didn't know. The pulling the gizzard out.
Oh yeah, and getting the stones.
Which is that is super, super cool. I was blown away by that.
Because
Because I'm thinking I've got a buddy that's plucking a feather, like a tail feather or some kind of feather from each turkey that he kills, and he's stuffing it in a mason jar and making kind of that's going to be his collection of birds.
That's neat.
But you cut open the gizzard and you kind of pan it like you would pan for gold, wash out the other junk in there, the processing food, and it just strips it down to basically gravel.
Yeah, the little stones that they pick up to put in the gizzards.
And it's cool because they've got, each turkey, I'm sure if I killed a turkey here versus Texas or Georgia or Florida, it's going to look completely different. So then I'm going to put them in you told me what you're doing. You put it in a clear jar and it's different layers.
Yeah, I showed you one of the ones that we have. And somebody showed me that a few years ago, and I was like, man, that is really cool.
It is really
Actually,
cool.
somebody had showed one of my guides, and he showed me, and I was like, well, that's really a cool thing to do. So, yeah, and if anybody's watching, you can go to our YouTube channel and see it. We show basically how to get the stones out of a gizzard, but you clean them all off, and you can put them in a glass beaker and have different layers. So it's just a whole nother way to have another trophy for your bird.
Very cool.
Kind of a neat,
yeah,
kind
I'm
of a neat
excited
deal.
about it.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, the hunt went awesome. Had a blast. You got to see a little bit of our craziness because right after we shot your bird, you were like, all right, what do you got going now? And I'm like, well, we got the vet coming over because Trent's got his little colt that was born on our ranch. And
a year ago, on Cinco de Mayo, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. A year ago. And you want to geld those colts if you're going to get them cut, in about a year to 2 years. So the vet was coming over. I'm like, well, we got to geld the horse. And you jumped right in there. You're holding the rope, holding legs, helping the vet. And you got to see our horse get gelded.
Yeah.
So Trent was feeling a little bad for him.
Yeah, he was. That kind of stuff's tough to watch. That's your pet,
Oh, yeah. And it's a pretty sensitive part of an animal. Like you, me, Tim, and even Trent. The faces when he went to cut that horse, all of us went, oh.
Well, he's got a tool called an emasculator.
Right.
That's the technical name for the tool, which is the most barbaric tool I've ever seen. And the sound that it makes when it clips the testicles off is just, it makes yours suck up in you. I think mine disappeared for a little while. They heard it. And
it cut and it crimps, you know what I mean, to stop the blood flow. But all of us you could just see all of us kind of cringe a little bit like, man, that looks like it hurts.
No, that was a cool process to see him. And obviously he's done it a bunch. I asked him how many of those procedures he's done. He thinks 200, 300.
Wow. Yeah, he's done 2 for us.
Yeah.
Yep. He's a good guy. He's done a lot. And he preg checks, he taught Trent, Trent's, done the whole glove thing. And, okay, now I feel the calf. So he preg checks our cows a lot. So it was kind of fun. And then, so we shot a bird in the morning. Then you helped us
before we did the gelding.
Oh, yeah, we
shot prairie dogs.
Yeah, we shot prairie dogs. That was awesome.
So fun.
Yep, trimmed out the prairie dog population. We got way too many on the ranch, and I was was impressed. You asked me if I wanted to shoot. I'm like, no, I'm not going to shoot now because you went 5 for 5 on prairie dogs out of 250, and it was a good time. It was pretty fun.
It is fun.
They're tough little rascals, but they ruined. You see how they ruined that pasture?
Oh yeah.
We had a beautiful pasture.
Yeah. Now, does that affect the cows? I've always heard that they step in the holes and break legs.
Cows, horses, and even more importantly, I mean, not only does it jeopardize them, they step down and can break a leg or injure themselves, but even for the damage. If you look at that pasture, it's disgusting. They literally, historically, there were never prairie dogs in that area. They moved into that area,
which is insane.
And there's no grass left.
Yeah,
they stain the ground, and it'll stay like that. You have to do a lot of work to try and bring an area that prairie dogs have ruined between feces and urine and everything else. Not to mention that they carry, they can carry the bubonic plague. It's
really?
Flea that's on them that can carry it, and sometimes they get wiped out by it. So they're really a nasty little rat. Some people are like, oh, cute. I'm like, no, I don't want them in my pasture. I don't want them in my house. They're like, it's no different than a rat. But so they have ruined that pasture. So I was tickled that we went out there and had a blast. We popped a few of those. And then you were like, well, what else would you normally be doing? I'm like, well, now we got to feed cows. Yeah. So we had to load some hay. You went out and jumped in and fed cows. And it was just it was a busy day.
It was a regular day for you.
But it was a fun day.
But that's so fun to me. Is like the coolest part of my job, I think, is the people that I get access to. We work with some of the coolest people in the industry, across all industries too. That's another cool thing about YETI. But I think that's what people ask me my favorite part of my job, and I get to hunt and do a lot of cool things and go to cool places, but really at the end of the day, the coolest thing it is the people that I get access to, and to get a look into your life, and not just through a TV screen or on YouTube, but to experience a normal day in your life it was awesome.
Well, thanks, man. I enjoyed it, and I didn't realize it's a whole culture, and I guess I knew that, and keeping up with you guys and the amazing, like, your posts are inspirational. They really are. You guys have, your social media network is amazing, and you guys do a jam-up job. But it was kind of cool because you brought Joe with you. I've never met Joe, and I think you said he's your boss. Is that right?
Yeah, he's
so
my boss.
You kind of report to Joe.
Yeah.
But I was like, we were in the truck alone. I was like, hey, what kind of dude is Joe? And you were like, man, he's really cool. And, one-on-one, sometimes guys are like, he's... Yeah. But you're like, man, he's really cool. He was a guy to Kilimanjaro. Like, this guy's a legitimate badass. And I'm like, no way. And I think I even told Joe last time, I was like, how do you not lead off with that you were a guide at Kilimanjaro and you've climbed all these awesome peaks all over the world? Yeah. It's the culture of people that you have there at YETI. And you were telling me about a young lady that was like a sea kayak guide?
Yeah.
Like,
they've done our talent team is really cool, our recruiters. And that's something that's in the DNA of YETI, is to hire authentically. It helps. It helps the connection. Like if I wasn't a hunter and I came out here to hang out with you, we're not going to be buddies. Yeah.
Right.
So they hire people with good customer service skills. I think that is the most valuable skill you can have as a professional, because across any industry, you're going to be dealing with people and providing a service for them usually. So I think that they do a good job hiring that and then grooming people that don't have it, and they like to hire within and build people up. But the next most important thing is that we all get along and we hire authentically. We know very well we are the experts at our communities, and that's the team that I'm on, is community marketing. And so we have, 7 or 8 core communities, and each one of us, there's usually one person per community. We're technically like the experts at that. I'm not saying that I'm a hunting expert, but I know that industry very well. I know who's relevant. I know how to shift energy. I know I'm well versed in things hunting, whether I've done it or not. I pay attention.
I would say you're pretty well versed. You could shoot a shotgun, and you could certainly shoot a rifle that you've never shot before. So that's what's kind of neat to me. And we talked a little bit about that, the culture and the people that are there, and hiring people that are real. Mm-hmm. So it was really comfortable for us, because you guys rolled in here, knew exactly what you were doing, super laid back, like, I'm going to take care of my bird. And, Joe, I apologize to Joe. I was like, man, sorry. I know it was a long day. He's like, it was an awesome, he didn't get a bird, but he was like, I loved his attitude. He had been up at 3:20 in the morning. Yeah. He walked in the door. He's like, it's been an awesome day. We made stalk after stalk. We were crawled down the mountain on our butts 300 yards. So the other guys that were working with him, and he loved everything about it. He's like, man, we saw elk. We saw deer. and we saw the couple we were after, and we did this and did that. So I like that you guys are true outdoorsmen. I would much rather guys like that come out.
Yeah.
That I can relate to and enjoy hunting with and have fun.
Well, a lot of that comes from, I didn't link this up, but I was talking about customer service skills. If you look at us, I would say 70% of our team has been guides in the past. So we understand what it's like being on your end of it.
Yeah, you've got it. Fly fishermen, you've got it, all kinds of people. So
yeah, no, and so it's cool. And so I'm like, no, I'm not gonna make you clean my bird. That's my bird. I'm gonna go clean it. And Joe's the same way. We try to take good care and treat people the way anybody would want to be treated, or we'd want to be treated as a guide. So
well, it made it fun, and I want to talk just a little bit. And I know you guys don't overly push it, but I do think it's cool to talk a little bit about the culture and the products at YETI. So I want to touch on that because I think it's a neat story.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't know the story, and I've talked a little bit about it. But let's talk a little bit. A lot of people think just cups when they think YETI. My one complaint, I had one complaint, I got to throw that out there. I wish it wouldn't keep it so hot sometimes. I got to wait for a while. I got to hold my cup outside my window to cool it down so I could drink my coffee. Like when we went turkey hunting the other day, I'm like, man, you're like, it's kind of warm. I gotta add some cold water in here so I can drink it because it's gonna keep it too hot.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing you guys need to work on is some kind of ice cube button or something to cool it down a little bit so you drink it quicker.
Yeah, I always, my first cup of coffee every day is out of a ceramic mug versus a YETI because that's important to me. I need to get it down the hatch.
I gotta get it in here. That's good.
I cuss the brand every day when I'm driving to work. I'm like, burn my tongue. And I'm driving to the YETI office. Screw these guys.
I gotta cool this thing down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. And even the ice, the guys are commenting about how long it'll hold ice in it. But it's not just the cups. You guys have from dog bowls to chairs to the
dog beds,
the loadout box.
That's your favorite, huh?
Super. I'm gonna tell you, the loadout box. I'm a huge fan because I like the way the latches work. It keeps dust out, water out, and it keeps. I have one for all my stealth cam stuff. I can hold. I think I've got 8 stealth cam cameras in there. I've got batteries. I've got SD cards. I've got battery testers. I've got another one that holds my night hunting stuff. So like when I go night hunting, instead of having to go 9 places, I'm like, this has got my night hunting stuff. I can throw it in the back of the truck, and I know it's going to be protected. So I got to tell you, that was a home run.
It is, and we're expanding that cargo category quite a bit. But that's one of those products that when I saw them, they showed it to me. I was like, yeah, it's cool. I like it, but I don't know how it shows up in my life. And then you get it, and you start incorporating it, and you're like, how did I live without this thing? If you need organization, like all of my archery equipment, Bitzenberger, fletchings, glue, binoculars, all of my hunting equipment stays in that box year round, and I just pick it up when I'm going on a trip, throw it in the bed of the truck, and I know I've got everything, and I don't have to worry about it. It's got locking brackets. I can tie it down. They stack on top of each other. It's a great product.
It's a good idea because I've got the same thing with fletching cheese. I got my so easy fletching, my glue, by this. That's a good idea to put all that in there. But you've seen my truck.
Yep.
I need a little organization in my life.
Organization and protection. It's a little dusty out here.
And that's helped out. That's helped out a bunch. Tell me a little bit about the history of the company because you guys don't just have this culture now. You guys started originally with an outdoor culture. You guys, the owners, were fishermen. They were taking guys out. They needed a better cooler for fishing, isn't that?
That's it.
Kind of what started that whole deal.
Yeah, so Roy and Ryan Cedars are the founders of YETI. They started the company in 2006. One of them, Roy Cedars, he was making custom high-end skiff boats, like everything to a T custom. And he kept noticing he wanted a cooler on the bow of the boat that he could stand on top of and fish from. Kind of double up as a platform, but also serve a purpose too when it wasn't being used as a platform. And so you see there's a picture that's all over our office, and it's super cool. It's Roy up on the front of a boat, and there's a big storm coming, and he's on, not a YETI cooler, but he's got a wood deck built around it, basically, because the lids kept crushing on him. And so he's like, in his head, he's like, he set out to make a more durable cooler. That's it. He just wanted it to be stronger. And so he worked with it and found this company called YETI, which was a roto-molded cooler. And started using that on the bow of his boats and never had any problems. And so he imported that and sold it for a while and then said, hey, we can do this on our own. And so he came out with it, found manufacturing, sourced manufacturing materials, and created a roto molded cooler in 2008, which is the Tundra cooler. We just 2 years ago celebrated 10 years of that product, which is amazing because it literally hasn't changed in 10 years.
That's awesome.
And so along with
Let me shut my phone off. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
That's one of the guys over there. We got getting horses shod today.
Do you need to take it?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So along with the durability came improved ice retention, and in a big way. Like it shocked the market, and people are buying $300 coolers like it's going out of style, and never thought that you'd be able to sell a $300 cooler. I'm sure people told him he's crazy. So he brought his brother Ryan Cedars in to help him out, and it kind of, you hear stories about people seeing him in the basement floor of SHOT Show, and there's a cool story about them being down there, and one of the reps from Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation came by the booth and was like, "Oh, hey, what's that?" He's like, "It's the YETI Tundra," and he's like, I think it was Roy or Ryan. They're like, "Hey man, do you mind if we put this in your booth and kind of get a few more eyeballs on it?" So they did, and people kind of drew to it, and the momentum just built and built. But they still have that same cooler.
They have the original one?
Yeah, it says on the bottom, "Not for resale," like display only.
That's cool. They kept it.
There's tons of stories like that are really cool. But what they did more than anything is that I think made a difference is, one, they didn't shove product down people's throat. They advertised in a really subtle way, and we've always told human stories in our films and photography and everything. There's always something else going on. They worked with the right people. But another thing they did is they only work with authentic people that really, truly use their product day in and day out. And
they built a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
Right? They built a better mousetrap.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's a better cooler. I mean, the innovation and the technology that went into it, too. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't a better cooler, no matter how cool the advertising was, it wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
With social media and everything else today, if it wasn't durable, if it wasn't tough, I still don't think it would have flown.
Yeah.
If it wasn't 100%. Legitimately a better product, that's what I think they've done an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
But
we don't apologize for our price points. Like, it is what it is, because we know you're getting a superior product.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it.
And a superior product costs more.
Yeah.
We say that about a lot of stuff. Like, there really is that old adage, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
There's that came up for a reason.
Yeah. Another thing they've done too is, like, from the get-go, conservation, giving back was a mainstay in the company. It's ingrained in us. It's in our DNA. And I think, you have another sponsor, Leupold, that does an amazing job supporting these conservation groups. But I would say there's probably not another brand out there that does more for conservation, at least in the hunting space. I know I can say it for certainty in the hunting space that does more than YETI does. And that's really cool. And I think sometimes we're a little bit too humble about that. We don't really talk about it, but it's important, because without these wild places and these wild animals and these wild things, there wouldn't be a use for our product, So it's creating that system around the brand and supporting the industry around the brand, because without an industry and without wild places, there wouldn't be a need for YETI.
Yeah, trying to protect what we all enjoy, too. I mean, and it is a lifestyle, and I've always respected that about you guys. You put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and whether it's Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or, Ducks, DU, you guys have put a ton of time and energy back into the industry, and that's huge to me. I think that really speaks highly to, what's important to you guys, and the owners and the company as a whole. And of course, what's cool is, guys like you that have guided fishermen and guided hunters, or guys like Joe that's a Kilimanjaro guide that loves the sunrise as much as anybody I've ever met. It's important to those people. So when the people that work there, the same things that people that are using your product are passionate about, you guys are passionate about, to me, that's gonna be a win-win, because you guys care about the environment and care about pushing that whole sport and future forward.
Yeah, and I think our jobs are really cool. I think I have the coolest job in the industry. I'm really blessed. I don't say that in a braggadocious way.
No, you have a pretty cool job.
It's fun.
I think I'd go toss up with you, because I love mine too. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But how does somebody get a job like that? We're on that subject. I get calls or emails and even texts sometimes, or social media people going, man, whether it's my son or my daughter or even young people that say, you have an awesome job. How do I get into the industry? What do I do?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about YETI or where people would go. There's some really great growth opportunities in that company.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, if you wanted to check out YETI, where you suggest somebody go. I mean, is there a website?
I think obviously we're in interesting times right now. We're probably not hiring a whole lot with the COVID pandemic and everything, but
I think that'll blow over like everything else. In my opinion, I think another 6 months, I think everything's back to normal.
I hope so. But YETI.com/careers is where you'd go to find an opening. But what I would say is you got to be able to put in the work before, you're not going to just jump onto a marketing position. You've got to have experience. And I'll say it again, that customer service skill. If you're groomed for good customer service, you're going to succeed in any industry. And I don't deal with YETI customers per se. My customer groups are ambassadors, sponsors, people that we work with, conservation groups, events,
I was a YETI customer before I was an ambassador, so
Good.
You're kind of dealing with a customer.
Yeah. What I'm saying is you're the ultimate customer, and that's how we view you guys, and we treat you guys that way. Like, you guys are tip of the spear. You're doing your craft or your pursuit more than anybody else, and that's why we work with you, because we know you're going to put our product through the ringer more than most people would. So,
and I love that you guys want our opinions. That's always been cool. Like, what do you think of this product, or what do you think of that product?
Tell us if it sucks.
And we'll say honestly, like, man, this one I use a ton, this one I don't use as much, and here's why. And it may work great for a fisherman, or it may work great for a kayaker, but this product doesn't work as great for me, because you guys have such a wide range of products. Too.
Yeah, and that's kind of been a struggle for us, is to kind of get out of that cooler and drinkware category and tell people we're doing a lot more.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah.
All the different products you guys have.
Gosh, so you can check YETI.com, but obviously Tundra was the first product. In 2012, we kicked that off. Then in 2014, we launched drinkware, which somebody came to us with the idea, and they're like, hey, you need to do a vacuum insulated mug. And Tervis Tumblers was out there, and they were doing really well. And Roy Cedars was like, yes, we got to do this. And we had a private equity group that owned quite a bit of the company at that point, and they're like, no, don't do it. Stick with what you're good at. And so it was like kind of an internal battle between the two.
Yeah,
and finally
do we
we
do it,
ended
do
up
we
doing
not?
it. And we launched drinkware in 2014, I think, and essentially like doubled our business in 1 year.
They're awesome. That's one of the things that we use all the time.
I mean, I would say, and I don't know, I'm sure the numbers are out there somewhere, but I feel like you could walk into any kitchen, open the cupboards across America, and there's got to be like a 60% chance there is one YETI in there,
Here's
or
something
a similar brand.
I've never heard in my house since we started using them. I've never heard glass break.
Yeah, yeah.
And all the time, somebody, you drop something out of the dishwasher, or somebody be carrying something, or you're trying to carry a whole bunch of stuff. That's what I love about them. They're tough, they're durable. You can drop it, you can throw it. Like, here, guy misses a catch, no big deal.
Yeah.
So I think that was a home run. But you guys have
so that catapulted
balls.
us. Yeah, that catapulted us, and we're like, okay, we need to do more. People love this brand; they want more, and so. Then we came out with soft-sided coolers, which are awesome, indestructible. You can drive over them with a truck. And then in the last two
loadout
years,
bucket. My wife, that's one of her.
Yeah.
And I had people. They were like, "Come on,
$40
Fred,
bucket?
a $40 bucket.
Yeah.
What do you give me a break? Do you guys really use that?" And I literally, my wife was like, "That's one of my favorite YETI products."
She loves
but
it.
You gotta understand, she's in the garden all the time. She needs tools. You guys were smart with the pouch around the back. She's got, it's like an electrician without his utility belt.
Yeah.
She's got her gardening tools. She can put all that stuff in there. It's got an easy strap. She can lift that strap. It's never going to break, because I was always giving her old hydraulic buckets.
Yeah.
And they were cracking and breaking, and the little tiny piece of plastic on there to help you lift a heavy load, or like a 50, whatever a full, hydraulic bucket weighs. That would always crack and break. Then she just had the wire, and so the wire was hard to carry. And then one side would always fall out, so
the bottoms crack. And it's like how many $5 buckets have you purchased over your lifetime?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's the toughest. So the utility bucket was another win for us as far as stuff we use.
But another cool thing that we do is we really listen to these communities, and we didn't know who is going to adopt the bucket. But one group that really, really has is the waterfowl group. and they're using it as not only like
shotgun shells.
2-in-1. It's your blind bag. All your stuff goes in there as a caddy that helps organize it, but it's also your seat when you
sit down. Yeah, 100%. Like the old Dove back in the day. Do you remember the old Dove chairs?
Oh yeah.
But they would break all the time. You know what I mean? They had a little cheapo plastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you'd carry your Dove chair. And to me, that's like the updated. 30 years later, that's your Dove duck goose chair.
Yeah.
Carry everything you need. Shotgun shells.
Yeah.
Whole enchilada.
Yeah. So that I think the bucket kind of kicked off our cargo line, and so from the bucket, people are like, hey, you guys need to do a box. And we really listen and see which communities are adopting it and get feedback. And our product team is, that's one thing that YETI will never skimp on is product development. We have a building down the street from our main office that if you drove by, you wouldn't have a clue what it is. It's totally unmarked. And that's our innovation center. And it's like a 30,000 square foot.
Oh, you guys are like the feds. You got to
just
top secret with it.
Windows. The only way you'd know is every car in the parking lot has a YETI sticker on it. But it's cool, man. Next time you're in Austin, I need to take you down there because they're literally, you walk in there and it's like an adult dude's playground. Like they're dropping Tundras off the roof, and there's a tilt-a-whirl that literally just drags a Tundra cooler around in circles, and it's got rough surfaces, and they're dragging our Panga bags around. And
can I video that? That would be a neat
a lot
thing
of it's
to
like
show.
Top secret, but we need to do a virtual tour of it.
You guys got to let me in there.
They've got one machine that's really cool. They inject pressure into bottles, and the lids just explode everywhere. They crush stuff. They've got machines that are automated and opening and closing the Tundra or the flip coolers. It
sounds like a fun place to work.
It's amazing. There's 3D printers, and it's funny because like Ryan Cedars will go out and he killed a sheep. He killed a doll sheep, and he brought the head back in, and we've got a 3D scanner. So it scans the entire thing and then takes that data and puts it into a 3D printer and prints a 3D replica of his skull, and then gets it bronzed, and then you walk in, there's freezers in there. That's the coolest part is there's freezers in there where they're storing ice or getting coolers ready or whatever, and there's like deer hanging in there because our innovation guys are out hunting. They're like, oh, I got a walk-in freezer right here, I'm gonna hang my meat in there.
You got it next to the Yetis.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
It really is cool, man. That place is cool.
That's the culture. Yeah. That's the culture thing that I like, and I'm going to work on you. I want to try and go check out the big boy playroom
because
you can see my stuff's trashed, and I don't say that I'm proud of it. It just gets used. You can't. My bows are beat up. My guns are beat up. My scopes, my binoculars.
I'm the same way.
If you use it, it's gonna. I think it's awesome when guys' stuff looks pristine, but that's not real. You know what I mean? Real. When you're out in the field, you're gonna beat it up. So I really want to see that. I'm trying to think about anything else. Because we're also videoing this, we'll probably kick this out on YouTube, and we'll share some of the pictures from not only the branding that we were doing when you guys got here, but gelding the horse and feeding the cows and a little bit of everything we've done while you were here. And today, horses are getting shot. We got the farrier over there, so my wife's over there working with Trent on catching the horses.
Call out real quick. You hit the jackpot with Michelle. She's amazing, man.
She gets after.
She's the real deal.
Yeah, she can.
Hardest worker I've ever seen, I think.
Oh, she's a great cook, as you've seen.
Yes.
Hundreds of quarts of vegetables. I mean, she grows a huge garden. She cans hundreds of quarts of vegetables.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Grows grapes, makes her own jelly, goes out and picks wild plums.
Which I get every Christmas. It's one of my favorite gifts that I get. Is her jelly. The corn cob jelly? Is it jam?
Isn't it? No, corn cob jelly.
Oh, my gosh, it's so good. And I saw the label on it, and I'm looking at it, and it's yellow. I'm like, what is this?
That sounds gross. It sounds gross.
It's
corn
so
cob
good.
jelly. But
so
it's
good.
Amazing. But thanks for the call out. She appreciates that too.
You outkicked the coverage a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I got a little lucky.
Yeah.
My buddies were like, "What? Were you just nice to her seeing eye dog and she thought you were a good guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of mean."
Every blind squirrel finds a nut,
Well, man, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down. I really appreciate it. It's fun talking to you. It's fun talking about the culture, realizing the people that are there. And I'm super excited that I just heard about the R&D room because I've never, I've had a chance to sit down with Ben. I sat down with Trevor, and I'm slowly putting together the whole YETI picture in my mind and some of the testing and some of the history and the owners. But every time I learn a little bit more, and the fun room sounds like I saw Tim's eyes light up too. Tim's, not only helping us run the podcast, but he guides with us and does a little of everything. And I know Tim's like, that sounds really
Yeah.
cool. Like I saw him go like, yeah, let's go video that. So pull some strings for me.
Yeah,
See if you can get us into the playroom because me and Tim will fly out to go check that out.
It's fun. Yeah, we'll do some kind of summit down there during a film tour or whatever and bring you down and have some fun in Austin.
That sounds awesome.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, man. I've sure enjoyed it.
I have too, Fred.
Yep. Congrats on your bird. Great
Thank
shot. Awesome. You didn't twitch a muscle. I was impressed. You know, you're always trying to watch people, you know, and Tim's not moving. I'm not moving. And I hope your butt was asleep because I was I know I moved a little bit there. And when you move, you know, everybody can hear it too because you're like, man, I got to move a little bit. So I moved a little bit and I know that you and Tim could hear it. So I'm like, oh, man, they probably think, what's he doing over there? My butt was totally asleep.
So was mine. My left leg was too. I was like hoping that. I actually thought about that when I was shooting the bird. I'm like, I hope I don't have to run after this bird and get another shot because my entire left leg is
There's no
numb.
way we're going to get him quick.
It's numb. It's asleep.
There was no reason for that. Well, hey, I'm Fred Eichler here with Sloane from YETI, and we had a pretty awesome time this week. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other questions about YETI, where do they go?
YETI.com is probably the best place. We're on social media. And yeah.
Perfect. And stay tuned for our next one.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me out.
Dude,
good time.
Awesome. Loved it.